Good. So, great. So, Glenda, you ready? I'm going to hand it to you then. Okay. So you're mic'd. So you are mic'd, aren't you? Yes. Good. So anyway, I just wanted to set up by saying you run Agricultural and Natural Resources. You have been investing in all kinds of things that are helping producers at the local level. So a month, whatever it was, a couple of months ago, we met, you talked about all that. We'd really love to hear that. And then also about the new food centers that we heard about, the business centers. You could talk a little more about that. That was brought up in the previous conversation. So please.
I would have been surprised if Karen hadn't brought that up. It's hard to know where to begin, because when I think about what UC system can bring to this, it is so much. I mean, for over 100 years, it's the research and cooperative extension that's out in the field, helping farmers farm better, helping natural resources managers do their jobs better, understanding, the science of that and making it happen. We will clearly keep doing that. And we do need to keep doing that. I know that a lot of folks are very interested in moving towards a heavily plant-based diet. But at the end of the day, we've got to recognize that about 40% of the land mass of this planet can only ever be harvested through ruminants grazing. That's just the reality. It's land that's too steep or highly erodible or just inappropriate for various other reasons for any other kind of agricultural activity. Grazing by ruminants is an amazing biological process, quite frankly. It's also a process that our natural resource managers are understanding better and better, can help us with fire reduction. Getting folks out there in our forests, in our oak woodlands, et cetera, reducing fire risk and fuel load through appropriately managed grazing. And by the way, that starts getting into other feedback loops. Appropriately managed grazing reduces fire, creates healthier forests, which also can produce 10 to 20% more water from the Sierra and Cascade, which can irrigate some of the other crops in California. So they're very much linked, which of course brings us to the crop livestock potential of, if you are doing some highly regenerative farming, understanding how to do these mixed crop livestock systems is, again, part of our research, our cooperative extension, demonstration farms we do, working with a variety of farmers of every side. So there's that angle. Then, of course, there's expanding our cooperative extension itself beyond the hands in the dirt or hands on the cow or sheep type of research and extension into something we're doing a lot more of recently, which is around community and economic development. We've now placed, just in the last few years, several new cooperative extension advisors around the state who are there to help create regional food systems. And that includes things like better supply chains and helping start up these small businesses. This newest grant that Karen mentioned to you earlier that is fantastic, $35 million for the region, I have to say, 4 states, California, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, to support small farm and food businesses is really, really exciting, although it explicitly is not for livestock and meats. But the good news is USDA has several programs that do fund that same exact work for livestock and meats explicitly. But getting the system up, the network, when we put that proposal in, we specifically looked at what were some successful programs around the state and in our other fellow states that were actually producing, and how could we expand them, scale them up, replicate them, and that's what we're focusing on. And that includes things like better supply chains, procurement programs. In fact, we kicked off that grant here at Central Kitchen in Sacramento, which is a great example of the school district serving as an aggregation hub. And they are putting meat products into their school lunch meals. We've seen that in other places. Other large anchor institutions can also do that, which of course is another role UC can play. Purchasing. We've got a lot of facilities, a lot of people on campuses. Our ability to purchase product can really have a huge market effect. And I was just in a phone call this morning in some of my meetings, which is why I'm late, I apologize. But we were talking about the next level of some of our community economic development, because we're going to be looking for doing a few new position calls this fall. And one of the things that got brought out right away was we need to get some advisors and or specialists who can really be looking at how do we finance these operations. We don't currently have anybody out there to help you all with the financing aspect, whether it's your individual farm, or if it's an aggregation hub, or if it's starting up a slaughterhouse, or if it's starting up a little storefront that's going to sell the product. The financing of that is another area where we can start doing a great deal of work. So I think that's really the big issues. You know, the research extension doing what it has done and even more, the community and economic development with the supply chains, the food business support, and then you see, as our student here emphasized too, we got a lot of mouths to feed on those campuses. 300 students, and I don't even know how many faculty, staff, and et cetera, but it's a lot of mouths.
We heard 600,000 a day during the academic year.
I'm willing to believe that. That's a lot of folks. So that anchor institution is something not only we can play, but a lot of other anchor institutions. And as we understand how that works, for example, Riverside Unified School District was one of the very first school districts to stand up as an aggregation hub. Our Nutrition Policy Institute did the research and analysis of how did they do that, how did they worked, what didn't, lessons learned, that we're now sharing with other institutions so that they can then avoid some of those early mistakes. It's great to not have to reinvent the wheel. Another great role for UC and our CSU and community colleges. In fact, I was with the community college leadership down in LA all day yesterday. They're really excited about the workforce aspects of this and how we get not just workforce, but entrepreneurs going up in this. Many of the community colleges have business entrepreneur centers. We're talking with them about putting together test kitchens and commercial kitchens that people could start using in incubator situations, similarly to how we're talking about fairgrounds serving in that role as well.
Good.
So I'm going to stop there.
That's great. Thank you very much.